In today's video, I want to share 5 important pieces of information that a caregiver needs to know about your loved one so they can decide if this is a good case for them or not. If your loved one has dementia, be sure to watch to the end where I talk about information related to their cognitive situation. We are in a caregiver shortage, and the estimates are that will worsen for the next decades. Whether you engage someone directly or work with an agency, everything you can do to communicate your needs thoroughly and comprehensively will be an important first step in getting a great caregiver. You also might learn a few things that you can change in your own situation to improve the chances that you get the help you want. Now, the first category is basic demographic data. Age, weight, sex of the person needing care. Weight is really important because if a caregiver is expected to provide hands-on care, they need to understand how physically challenging the case might be. I once had a client needing care for his mom. She was 70 years old, had no major cognitive issues, was bedbound, and needed someone to change her and reposition her every few hours. He didn't mention that his mom weighed over 300 pounds and had very little upper body strength, so she couldn't help in any movements. In a situation like that, many caregivers will decline the case. Now, there's a common misconception that caregivers, because of training and experience, know how to move their clients. And that is true. But the one thing that an experienced caregiver also knows is that if they hurt themselves while helping one client, they're unable to care for any client. The next item that's pretty important is where you live, because most caregivers reside where housing tends to be more affordable. And the closer you live to such areas, the easier it's going to be for them to get to you. And the easier for them to consider short shifts because the drive is not too far. And the last thing about your home is, are there pets and smokers in the house? Certainly, lots of these preferences will vary from region to region, but many caregivers like not having a client where there's a smoker in the house, and many have issues with dogs and especially cats because of allergies. The second category of information is major medical conditions that affect care. And this would be a description of your loved one's mental and physical situation. Are they ambulatory? Can they support themselves in a transfer? Or are they dead weight? Do they use a walker or rollator? Are they able to express their wants and needs? How do they handle their personal care? Things like bathing, toileting. Now, the best way to do this is a review of all the major ADLs, including ambulation and transfer, eating, bathing, continence, or to what extent they might have accidents, and toileting. And if you're working with an agency, it would be common to make this determination as part of their assessment. But if you're not working with an agency, these are things that caregivers will need to understand. The third really important piece of information is the schedule. It doesn't matter if a great caregiver is available in the mornings if your mom and dad need help at night. And there are 2 ways to address this issue. One is to simply find the best person you can and take the hours that they can give you. The other is to think hard about the hours you really need and look for the best people who are available at those times. Now, many times clients call us saying that they need help for their loved one, but it's hard for them to decide what the schedule should be. It's hard for a caregiver to know if he or she has interest in a client, or for an agency to serve them if there isn't a schedule that's been proposed. Sometimes clients want to have a caregiver available to them that they might do a couple of hours here and there, and they will largely be on call for when your loved one needs help. Conceptually, I guess a great situation, but it rarely works because most people who do caregiving rely on it as a means of income. And like all of us, they also have personal commitments with family, vacations, things like that. The notion that a person you identify is just going to be on call in the future is really hard to make work. When we meet with clients and discuss possible schedules, we ask them what kind of flexibility they have. For example, if they want someone for 4 hours, but it could start as early as 8 a.m. and end as late as 5 p.m., we make note of that because being as flexible as possible opens you to the greatest pool of caregiver candidates. The fourth bucket of information has to do with what you'd like a caregiver to do. Many times, clients might have the notion that a caregiver shows up and intuitively knows just what mom or dad needs and what they don't. And this certainly can happen, and great caregivers seem to slip into a routine very quickly. However, no one's a mind reader. No one knows what tasks you have in mind. So I always urge clients to articulate those needs in as much detail as possible. This is important for two reasons. Every caregiver should have a clear sense of what the expectations are. You don't want them to feel surprised by a task that they prefer not to do, like pet care. The other is that all clients are different. Some clients want caregivers to do everything, and others want mom or dad to continue to do as much for themselves as possible. And the last area of information is incredibly important for anyone whose loved one has dementia, and it's the type of information that can go a long way to make a successful relationship with your loved one. All the time, clients want to tell me the specific type of dementia their loved one has. You know, whether it's Alzheimer's, frontotemporal dementia, Lewy body disease, those diagnoses matter in a clinical sense. But all cases of dementia are different. And what matters most is the care needed by the individual, by your loved one, not the diagnosis. Important details include the detail of their mental behavior. Do they have frequent mood changes? Do they have short-term memory loss? Are they having difficulty with spatial and visual relationships? Finally, there are a number of personal questions that can help the caregiver understand your loved one and ensure that they work better with them. What does mom and dad prefer to be called? What are the events and places that are important to them? Who are the people, pets, or items that have been important to them? What things do they like to do? What helps if they become agitated or upset? And what are the general details about family, home, etc., where they grew up? And what's any other information that might help a caregiver understand them as a person? See my next video here on how to provide the best care possible for yourself and your loved ones.